All right. Before I start, I'm going to give all praises to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahushai Bahasham, Rakakwadash, the honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Peace, blessings, and salutations to all like the Akim wa Akwath, learning and teaching in truth and sincerity into the video through the Spirit. I got these two clips that I'm going to play. Really, I can just do it off this one. But Esau, Edom, man, we know that the so-called white man, he's a fucking natural-born liar. And he likes to use his pseudo-science, all right, which brothers famously call it, which is false science, his false knowledge. He likes to use it to justify, the ideologies he pushes out into the world. All right, and I'm gonna assume I'm not the first person who's come across this, right, brother, in the truth. And this thing has 1 million views, so I'm pretty sure someone may have seen it. But right here, he's getting caught up in his own lies. All right, and if y'all remember, years ago, y'all, what did they tell us growing up? That skin color is based off of where you live on the planet Earth, your distance from the equator, or how close you are to it. So the closer you are to the equator, you're supposed to be darker skinned because you're getting burnt up more, and the further away you are, since it's colder and you're getting less sunlight, hence you're lighter skinned. Well, now they're saying something different. Now they're saying that skin color changed based off of diet. So he didn't got caught up. And which this guy who's going to be reading the information, he looks like some sort of Ishmael or Amalek or something. But obviously he's gotten it from Edom. So the whole point of it being, Esau, like every 10 to 15 years, he switches up his lies. Now he doesn't like to let the public know this, but when you check out the science books, because I started school in the late 90s. I'm sorry, excuse me, early 2000s, but the textbooks that we had were from the late 90s, early, mid, and late 90s, compared to the books that as I'm getting closer to graduation, shit is changing. And then now I can only imagine, well, now they're saying, we didn't come over here as slaves, as indentured servants. So this man, he just likes to push out lies, y'all. Let me start with this. Simply put, you have to trust and believe in the scriptures. You have to let your mind be washed of all the bullshit that he taught us in these demonic school systems. Some of the things he taught us that are basic, and are true, you still hold to, right? Your basic math. 1 + 1 is 2, right? Green is green, yellow is yellow. But all that extra shit that he likes to come with, y'all, it's a pure lie. And you just have to accept that for what it is. It is a pure lie. His science of evolution, uniformitarianism, the fact that, it took, we've been here for billions of gajillions of years. It's a lie. All right? It's a lie. Psalms 58:2. The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. Straight up. So let's let it play.
You've probably been told that light skin is an adaptation that allowed the ancestors of modern-day Europeans to absorb more sunlight for vitamin D synthesis. These ideas might be a tad bit outdated.
It's time to let old pigs die.
We have a lot of archaeological evidence that suggests that humans first arrived in Europe around 30,000.
Where's that evidence at? How come you haven't produced it to the masses? How come y'all ain't told this to everybody? They just be saying shit.
40,000 years ago. And yet, until about 8,000 years ago, the ancestors of modern-day Europeans were dark-skinned. They had blue eyes, but they were dark-skinned. A little like Cheddar Man, who lived in Britain.
Now, we know, from our elders and apostles doing diligent research, when I say we, the Israelites, dark-skinned Negroes, we were in Europe, all right? Now Esau, he rules it now, and he came there and, whooped our asses and got us up out of there, right? Renaissance era. But to say that they were all running around with blue eyes and white man's hair, that's facetious. So you did have dark-skinned Jake there, but they wasn't running around with Edomite hair and blue eyes. So take that with a grain of salt.
Britain 10,000 years ago and is the ancestor of roughly 10% of all white Europeans were dark-skinned. They had blue eyes, but they were dark-skinned. A little like Cheddar Man, who lived in Britain 10,000 years ago and is the ancestor of roughly 10% of all white British people. 8,000 years ago just happens to be around the time when we see the first evidence of agriculture appear in Europe. In other words, it appears that light skin didn't evolve as an adaptation to absorb more sunlight in dark Europe, but to compensate for a changing diet brought on by agriculture. Once humans settled down and started farming, it's likely that their diets became very deficient in vitamin D, as there are a few good plant-based sources of vitamin D, providing light-skinned people with a huge advantage.
So now, what's being told now is that lighter skin comes from a lack of vitamin D through the diet. What the fuck? So we can just change up things like that? Y'all used to give us, you could have passed or failed a test depending on how you answer some of these questions. Some of us may have got held back a grade, right? Some of us got beat up by our parents because you failed one of these tests with these motherfuckers lying on it, right? So back in the day, it was your proximity to equator. Now it's your diet, how much vitamin D. So with this theory, if I wanted to get darker, I should just eat a shit ton of vitamin D. Or if I want to get lighter skin, I should just stop eating vitamin D. Is that how it works in real life? No. There's no amount of food an Edomite can eat to be darker. There's no amount of food your black ass can eat to wake up and look like an Edomite and have blue eyes and blonde hair. This shit is a lie, y'all. You have to simply accept it as that. Esau Edom has forged an entire web of shadows that the majority of this people trust and believe in. And even when you go to these comments, some of the people are eating them up. And that original theory doesn't uphold anyway, because, as brothers always mention, you got the Eskimos, dark skin, but they're in one of the coldest parts in the world, right? So the idea of your skin being based off of where you live on planet Earth and proximity to the equator is a farce, all right? Edom was the first, going back to Cain, he received his mark of Cain. And then Edom as a people, all right, Esau, they were the first ones introduced on the earth with that lack of pigment after the flood. He got around and he started having babies. That's how this shit spread, through no other means. It wasn't by diet or sunlight. Right here it says, up in northern Canada, the indigenous people are dark-skinned and sunlight is quite limited. They believe this is from the high vitamin D in their diet from the consumption of fish and seal. So it's a lie. Well, Canada's the coldest to get, minimal light. Those people shouldn't be dark-skinned. There's no amount of food you can eat to change that. This is funny. Someone said, so it's not because of vitamin D, but because of vitamin D. Yeah. I'm just looking at some of these comments. I'm sorry, y'all. What did he say? He said, so if I understand correctly, the original theory states simply that early humans in Europe evolved lighter skin to make it easier to absorb sunlight and thus synthesize the necessary vitamin D to compensate for relative lack of sunlight. The new theory states that early humans in Europe evolved lighter skin only after they settled down in agrarian societies and their mostly plant-based diet can no longer provide enough vitamin D. So to compensate, they evolved lighter skin to make it easier to absorb the relative lack of sunlight in Europe and thus synthesize the necessary vitamin D. So basically he's just reciting what the guy said in the video. But none of it's true, y'all. Because let me ask you this. According to this man's weak-ass science, evolution is about what? The survival of the fittest. If you're whatever the creature is, if it's in a weaker state, it wants to evolve into something greater. Now, is lighter skin or darker skin greater for protection from being burnt up in the sun? Which one is it? Y'all see where I'm going? Right here. Darker skin protects better from sunburn than lighter skin because it contains more melanin, a brown pigment that blocks UV rays. However, People with darker skin can still get sunburn, and sun exposure can increase the risk of cancer. Right. Darker skin protects you better from the harmful rays of the sun, UV rays as they're called today. So if the entire idea of survival of the fittest and evolution was correct, then everything down here would be darker skinned, because dark skin is necessary to have longevity with the earth. You have more melanin, therefore you're not getting burnt the fuck up. Y'all see what I'm saying? So which one is it? Is lighter skin, is it better for you in the sunlight, or is it worse for you? Is it better at absorbing sunlight, or is it worse? This shit is crazy, y'all. This shit is literally, man, this dude, he's a fucking liar, y'all. He's straight up a fucking liar. So ultimately, you have to trust in what these scriptures say. We know how Edom got here, the so-called white man got here. And when you look around in Genesis, let's do this, you'll start to see, because I'm actually, y'all should already know where it's at, Genesis 25, dealing with his birth. But I want to get actually what Esau started doing was going around and making babies. Which is why you have, his look is out in the world. His lack of melanin. Because before him, everyone was dark skinned. All right, different variations, of course. Brown, darker brown, lighter brown. But he came down here. The Heavenly Father sent him in with that same curse from Cain, which is his lack of pigmentation. And which ultimately, y'all, in the kingdom, we all gonna get our original look back. So for anybody, suffering with that right now, don't worry about it. This ain't an insult to nobody directly or none of that. We just setting forth the truth. Genesis, where is it at? Let me get, let's do this. Okay. Genesis 34, Genesis 26 and 34 says, and Esau was 40 years old when he took to wife Judith, the daughters of Beri the Hittite, and Beshemeth, the daughter of Elon the Hittite, which were a grief of mine unto Isaac and to Rebekah. So right here we have Esau take two wives, both of them Hittites, so both of them Africans. All right, so starting all the way back then, you had Esau mingling with other nations, and his parents were mad at him because we were told not to deal with none of those Hamites in the land that we were going to go take, all right, to go get someone of the kindred. But would Esau listen to that? No. He wouldn't go. He went to go get the darkest motherfucker he could find. Let me get another example. Genesis 28. Yep. See, these are named so fast. Yep. Genesis 28 and 8. It says, and Esau, seeing that the daughters of Canaan pleased not Isaac his father, then went Esau unto Ishmael, and took unto the wives which he had Mahalath, the daughter of Ishmael, Abraham's son, the sister of Nebajoth, to be his wife. So right here we see that Esau took a Ishmaelite as a wife. All right, so you can, and when you look at some of the different nationalities on the earth, you look at certain Ishmaelites. You got darker ones, you have lighter ones. You look at Moab and Ammon. Now it's a lot of light ones running around today, but if you go look at older pictures from the early 1900s and whatnot, you had dark ass Moabites and Ammonites and whatnot. So clearly you see here, this is something that Esau would start to do. Go and make babies with the heathen. And what do you think those children did when they grew up? Went out and made babies, went out and made babies, went out and made babies. So we go from a planet full of dark-skinned people to now, you got people who look what we call today so-called white. All right, that's how the variation of color got out here in the earth by people having children with people of different shades, not by your distance to the equator. That's a fucking lie. It's a pure lie. And Esau knows this, which is why now apparently he's starting to try to change it up. All right, so let me go to another one, another little clip.
So the Yamnaya are these groups that thrived between about 53. So the Yamnaya are these groups.
So now there's this people called the Yamnaya. Never heard of this, y'all. I've never heard of the fucking Yamnaya. And I ain't the smartest nigga walking around, but damn, bro. I was pretty attentive in school. You know, you most things you mentioned, you know, I would have heard of, or could you know, you feel what I'm saying? Never heard of the Yamnaya. Come on now, y'all.
So the Yamnaya are these groups that thrived between about 5,300 and 4,600 years ago in the steppes north of the Black and Caspian Seas. They're probably the first people to domesticate the horse. So they expanded.
They're not the first people to domesticate the horse. Who would have been the first one to domesticate the horse? Adam would have been the first to domesticate the horse. I'm sorry, y'all. Let me get that real quick. Who was given authority over animals? So immediately they're starting off with bullshit, y'all. Immediately starting off with bullshit. Let me get let's do this. Salakia. Yamnaya. Man, nigga. That's what it sounds like. Yamnaya, man, nigga. Dominion. Hey, Salak for the background noise, y'all. I'm still at work. Okay. Yeah, this will work. Genesis 1 and I'm gonna start right at 26. It says, and the Elohim said, let us make man in our own image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. All right, so the Heavenly Father, by way of Yahushua and the angels, the elect, already created that order of the relationship between mankind and animals. All right, we didn't have to wait until the Yamnaya to get here to have domesticated horses. All right, this is another way we know there's no, animals don't evolve. All the animals were created as they were meant to be in their proper state. A dog didn't start out as a fucking leprechaun, or a fucking alligator didn't start out as a fucking salamander. Okay, everything was created as it was meant to be, and it was already established that men would have the dominance over the animals, so they would be subservient in us to nature, although they're capable of ripping us to shreds. Now that's how it was at the beginning, but then of course, you know, after you see that Adam sinned, down the line, we still had down the line, the animals would lose the fear of us. Let me see. Yep. All right. Genesis 2 and 19, it says, and out of the ground Yahweh power formed every beast of the field and every fowl of the air, and brought them unto Adam to see what he would call them. And whatsoever Adam called every living creature, that was the name thereof. Right, so Adam set that order up, not the Yamnaya. Fear. Let's see, fear. All right, here we go. Yep, this is the other one I wanted. Genesis 9:1, it says, and the power blessed Noah and his sons, and said unto them, be fruitful, multiply, and replenish the earth. And the fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth, and upon every fowl of the air, upon all that moveth upon the earth, and upon all the fishes of the sea. Into your hand are they delivered. Right, so Adam domesticated animals before the flood, and then after the flood, who would have re-domesticated them? The ones that can be domesticated, meaning being tamed for use by humans. It would have been Noah and his sons. So the Yamnaya didn't domesticate shit. Imaginary, y'all. You have to believe what the scripture says happened is what happened, nigga. I don't care what nobody say. And that's the mindset you have to have about it, because he's gonna come with his faggot ass. Oh, well, you see, you take this and you turn it like that and you beep it, bop it, twist it, and it gives you this, and then you go here and these people say it's a fucking lie. These motherfuckers are lying.
Okay, the horse, so they expand into the little island of the steppe that's in the Great Hungarian Plain in the Carpathian Basin. You look at the genetic data, and there's a 90% population.
So what are these Mongols? Raise your hand if you've heard of the Yamnaya, y'all. Raise your hand if you have heard of the Yamnaya. Who the fuck are these clowns? This nigga just be making peoples up.
So one of the mysteries of the Yamnaya expansion was everybody had this cognitive bias to think this is very male-driven. You look at the genetic data, and you look at the Y chromosomes, which track male migration, and the mitochondrial sequences, which are more sensitive to female migration, and it looks like the steppe expansion is very both sexes. The most likely explanation for what's happening now is that it actually is a male-biased process, but it's one that's interrupted. So the Yamnaya expansion is very male-biased.
Yeah.
It expands the edge of the range. They encounter the corded ware, and in fact, the corded ware males absorb and take Yamnaya females, and then they expand further.
Y'all, you don't gotta believe a word this man says. So,
You both.
oh my god, man. The Yamnaya was rolling around kicking ass, but then what the fuck is the corded ware? They started making babies with the corded ware. That's why their DNA appears more feminine. Man, y'all see what I'm saying, man? Do y'all see what I'm saying? Trust in what Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai gave us, because that is the true understanding. Moses put together the first 5 books so that we could know what happened. And ultimately in the kingdom, we're going to have the full scope and the full story. But just simply understand that the majority, when Esau, there's certain things he's on point about, and there's certain things he goes hella off with. And when it comes to history and the origin of mankind and who this people are and this and that, he lies about a lot. And he does for good reason, because he doesn't want anyone to figure out who he is and to trace him back to truly being Edom, all right, the so-called white man. So that's all it is. Hey, so that's about it, y'all. I'm gonna give all praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Wakakwarash, the honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, peace, blessings, and salutations to all the like to Akim, Wa Akwath, learning, teaching, and truth and sincerity. Shalom.